She's the pushy broad from the Bronx, New York. Follow her voice, a stray dog is nice. She's the pushy broad from the Bronx, oh yeah. Don't be surprised if you wanna listen twice. Make decisions, find the right choice. Know yourself better, find your own voice. It's okay if you need help today, cause everybody needs a little push. From the pushy broad from the Bronx, New York.
Good morning and welcome, Transformation Talk Network listeners. My name is Stewart and I am the pushy broad from the Bronx. Welcome to my show, Recovery Recharged, where we share advice and support from experts in the field of addiction, recovery, and life. I am so delighted to bring this guest to you today because you're going to remember this show. He is a wonderful friend of mine. I was just talking before we started and reminded him that he's been with us for 7 times over the years. I know this gentleman since the beginning of 2021, and he is here today with me to talk to you about building a brighter year ahead. Let me tell you a little something about Andrew Capp. He's best known for his perennial best-selling book, The Last Law of Attraction book you'll ever need to read. And he was so right by that title because I haven't read another book like that since. He sold over 100,000 copies and he's garnering thousands of 5-star reviews. He challenged himself to continue and write a book that gives readers just as much value and action step for improving their lives called Just Feel Good. That has come out and done successfully very, very well. But I have him here because I'm selfish. I want to be able to end the year on a really positive note. So he spends time with me in December, like he did last year, really lifting us up for the new year. And I know all of us really need lifting as we go forward. When we approach a new year, it's always time to think about self-improvement and setting goals. But how do we make sure that this year is different? How do we build a year that's not only better, but fulfilling and joyful? So that's what we're going to talk about today as the Pushy Broad from the Bronx, Recovery Recharged, welcomes my special guest, Andrew Capp. Good morning, Andrew. How are you?
Good morning, Owen. Thank you so much for having me. I can't believe we're 7 times now, and I can't believe it's been since 2021. It speaks a lot for how grateful I am to know you because when time flies in that way, you know that you have a great relationship with someone.
I understand. And I cannot thank you enough. And this is all the gushing we're going to do because then we're going to get into it. But I can't thank you enough for truly changing my life. You know, I saw that movie Wicked and that wonderful song, I Have Been Changed for Good. And I can honestly tell you the moment that someone introduced that book to me, The Last Law of Attraction book you'll ever need to read, I have been changed for good. So, and I have given it to all of my recovery clients because I think it's required reading. And if it's not the LOA book, then it's the Just Feel Good book. And you need to go out and put Just Feel Good in your stocking stuffer, Andrew Capp, KAP, because it will truly change your life. So tell me, because I'm struggling, dude, why should people feel optimistic about this coming year? Or should they be worried? Because I'm a little worried.
So there's so many different ways of looking at this. The first one being you want to be, if nothing, like there's actually is a good reason to be optimistic, but let's pretend there isn't for a second. You want to be optimistic from a strategic point of view, meaning if you're wallowing, if you're worried, if you're put yourself in that negative state, you are yourself reinforcing things for going wrong. You're self-reinforcing, noticing when things are bad. You're reinforcing talking yourself out of taking proactive action for yourself. But even if it wasn't strategically a very wise choice, I'm a huge proponent of kind of taking like a 30,000-foot view of life every now and then because I think, even when we're in the middle of, a dark moment in our lives or a challenge, if we're able to give ourselves permission to expand out and look, we see that everything is cyclical. there's an ebb and flow, and actually the ebb and flow, even for someone who has like a quote unquote good life, they have ups and downs too. It's simply that they've been so proactive in how they handle their life that their ups are higher and their lows are not as low. But everyone has ups and downs. So if you can look back on just the past couple of years and look at the cycle and say, okay, this time was easier, this time was better, it's basically letting you know that it is inevitable that things will get better. And if you're not feeling that right now, you're simply in a, we had a conversation about this, what I like to call the cycle of suck, where you're just at that point where it's like, it's your term. You're the one that gave it to me. It's basically you're at that point in the cycle where it's like, okay, I am not happy right now, but you're on a wheel. The wheel is turning there, and the beauty of it is by your strategic choice to think and look forward, you're actually going to spin that wheel faster and smoother in the direction of more positivity for yourself.
So everything changes. This too shall pass. Yeah.
Yes. And I know
Oh,
that's oversimplified, but it's sometimes things, and it's also cliche. And cliches are cliche because they're true. You would not have said, like, cliches aren't something where somebody tells a lie and then someone agrees with it. Like, okay, let's just push this for all of eternity. It's like, no, it's something that resonates and makes sense because people can look back on their own life experience and say, yeah, that's true. This is true. And again, I'm assuming that a lot of people they haven't had a bad week. They've had a bad month or a bad year or a bad 2 years. And I'm saying that's good news because that means you're finishing out your cycle of suck. You're not starting it. Although a cycle of suck can really just last 1 week. But if you've really been in the murk of things for a while, that's all the more reason to be optimistic because everything is cyclical.
and there's great comfort in that, right? And we understand that, it will take some time, but things will move into a new cycle. And I'm so glad you gave me credit for my term cycle of suck because that's how I always saw it to be. I see it as that mouse on that wheel that is constantly spinning, trying to get ahead and never being able to get off. So, how do we break that cycle? How do we get off the wheel?
Well, a couple things. First of all, once we know it's a wheel, all of a sudden, when the wheel turns towards us, we're not unprepared. And it isn't something that knocks us off the wheel temporarily. But more again, I'm more about being proactive in the sense the wisest thing that people can do, in my opinion, is to simply expand their awareness and be willing to kind of look more at the big picture, to be willing to say, even when they're in the middle of a bad point in their life or a bad period or a bad section of it, they can look for positive things. And I'm guaranteeing people, some people don't want to hear this. There's always something positive. If you're waking up in the morning and you can breathe, that's positive. It sounds silly, but if someone suddenly took your ability to breathe away, you would suddenly understand how important that is. Stubbing your toe out of the blue, you suddenly realize how fortunate you were to have the convenience of being able to walk with comfort to work or to your job or to the grocery store, whatever it might be. There are so many good things, and when you focus on that, you're literally creating um, a zone of energy around you that's going, it sounds ridiculous to some, it's going to pull in more reasons, more events of positivity, and it'll actually filter a lot of the negativity out automatically for you.
There's so much science to what you're saying that is not just feelings. Just from your books and the things we've learned about positive energy, that positive thoughts attract positive thoughts. Negative thoughts attract negative thoughts. For me, I tell my clients, take yourself out of the play, put yourself in the audience and see it at a different perspective. Or metaphorically, if you're sitting at the same place at the dining room table, let's play musical chairs, change seats, different atmosphere, different perspective. And from there, we gather more information, right? So, what can someone do right now, an easy action to make themselves feel better and switch the negative to positive?
So I've got actually two. One is to simply do something nice for themselves. Because a lot of times when we're in the muck of things and we're trying to figure it out, we don't take time out to do something nice. Whether or not that involves spending money on ourselves or not, that's a whole separate thing. But to just do something nice for yourself and remind yourself that even despite my flaws, I love myself. Remind yourself that you love yourself, which is probably why you're so upset when things aren't going well to begin with. Another piece on top of that is, again, if you want to reinforce the whole understanding of cycle of suck, which makes you realize things are on the way, look back to 2012 to 2016. And if you could think of any point in those 4 years where things were good versus being bad, that is a clear reminder that there's this cycle where things get better. Oh, that's nice, Andrew. What about another time? Okay, how about 2018 to 2022? Most people probably automatically think, you know what, that's a little more difficult. I remember how bad that time was. But this to me is proof that you're actually not taking it seriously because if you go from 2018 to 2022, you can guarantee spots of improvement of awareness because we went from the pandemic in 2020 to by the time we were in 2022, you could go to restaurants again, you could interact with people again, you can go outside again. So here you had this instant reaction of like, oh, it was all bad. And here I'm reminding you, no, wait, remember the improvements, even in times where things felt very heavy. So remember that from a 30,000-foot view or just do something nice for yourself.
Well, I did something nice for myself yesterday. I went for a massage and a manicure and pedicure, and that was just absolutely wonderful. But in recovery, sometimes it's really hard for us to say, I love myself.
Hmm.
Even in early recovery, because we sometimes lack a little self-confidence and we're not so sure that we love ourselves because sometimes there's a lot of shame and guilt there. So there's a lot of cobwebs to clear when it comes to that situation. But give us an idea of what we could do that's something nice for ourselves if we don't have a lot of money or we can't get out or just something else that we can say that invites more happiness.
So just going out for a walk, getting a breath of fresh air, um, having a fun experiment like setting a timer and smiling, even if you don't want to, smile for 10 minutes. Just sit there, breathing, smiling. Call a friend that you haven't spoken to in a while and catch up. Sit down with a notepad in front of you and write down your favorite memories from high school or from college or from childhood or from recent. Do like any kind of little things that will elicit either ease in your life or positive emotions. So just fresh air, being around people, being around friends, these are all things that we intuitively know will make us feel better. And that's it's just about feeling good. Do something that makes you feel good. That's the answer.
It's the simplest things. And you also talked about finding things in your past that provide you with positivity. I tell my clients with every negative thought, I need you to replace it with a positive thought. Every single negative thought is followed by a positive thought. And also remembering what we call personal references. If you have a positive personal reference in the past, even if it was something hard, but you overcame it, it's a
Mhm.
positive reference telling you that you can do it. You've done it before, you can do it again. And that constitutes hope, always hope. And I tell my people in recovery all the time, as long as we're alive, there's hope. Why not choose hope? So
And it's
let's go a little practically. I want to know if you could wave a magic wand, change anything about the world right now, would you do it? What would it be? Personal or worldly? What?
Well, it's both personal and worldly at the same time because I'm in this category also. I would elect to enhance, myself included, everyone's internal and external awareness. When you understand what's going on within yourself, triggers and how they're affecting you, but you also understand why and how people are acting around you and why things are happening in a certain way, all of a sudden it automatically builds in a sense of ease, a sense of cooperation, a sense of connection, and a sense of real zeal and enthusiasm for life. So just enhancing everyone's awareness, and everyone has the power to do it for themselves if they're willing to be patient with themselves that would autocorrect so much in this world in an instant.
Okay, well, start sprinkling some magic dust. And you've actually started to sprinkle some magic dust because both of your books, I think, do exactly that. But narrow it down for me just a little bit. What's the key to gaining that awareness and perspective?
So there's many ways of doing it. An easy way to do it, because there's so many, is take a negative event in your life and challenge yourself to look at it in just one different way. And I'll give you an example. I can go back, I probably, I've been here, lucky enough to be here 7 times. I probably told the story of somebody breaking up with me over text back in the day. When that happened in that moment, all I was filled with was resentment and anger and like, how could this person do this to me? But shortly after, when I was willing to look in the mirror, even though it wasn't 100% her fault, it wasn't 100% my fault, but I was able to look at the parts where, well, the reason she was upset and the reason she gave up was because I was not around enough. That's on me. I was so distracted by my trying to get my company going on off the ground. That's on me. And because I had that new awareness when I started a new company, I was better at balancing who I was in there and with other people. Because I understood in a new relationship, I was able to give more of myself and actually be there for her. Having that sense of responsibility of where you went wrong without blaming or being angry at yourself, but just being willing to look at it in a different way, all of a sudden, this negative thing or these negative things that have happened to you, they take on a new emotional flavor, so to speak. And you could look back on it with a different sense of ease and a different sense of purpose and bring that with you into the next type of event, whether it's a relationship or it's work or whatever that you encounter in your life.
I also find that distance and time lends itself to see things more objectively if we're ready to do that. The
Hmm.
clients that I work with may not be able to take accountability or responsibility in the moment, but down the road, in hindsight, can take their feelings out of it
Hmm.
and look at it from a different perspective and say, this is what I've done. This is what I take responsibility for. And these are the mistakes that I'm learning from so that I don't repeat the same mistakes, right?
Yes.
We all make mistakes. The idea is to make new mistakes all the time.
And and also real quick for people that aren't ready to look that closely at themselves in that way, that doesn't mean you can't look at a past event differently. You can still look at someone who's wronged you and say, well, maybe they were going through something bad. Let me be willing to look at that. I'm not worried about myself yet. Again, there's always more than one way of doing this. There's always multiple angles of attack, so to speak, of looking at something differently. People that wrong you sometimes, they've got their own demons, they've got their own worries and burdens, and it feels personal to you, but it might not be personal. It might have been their automatic reaction for their own flight or fight response.
You're absolutely right. So, everybody that's listening out there, if you think life is hopeless, what could you possibly say to them, Andrew, to help them feel a little better otherwise? A little exercise, something that we can do immediately to feel a little better.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's do that. Like, let's actually try something where we're strategically making ourselves feel emotionally good, even for a little while, even for a little bit, although people might feel a lot more. We were talking about this recently. One of my methods, I call it the 10 minutes ago method. And it's basically, it's with the understanding that sometimes people have difficulty visualizing something good happening for them. It's hard for them to close their eyes and put themselves because they're trying to force it or they're trying to come up with the perfect details. And for whatever reason, they have trouble with it. So I say, okay, let's be strategic about this. Rather than worrying about visualizing the moment of something good happening, put yourself 10 minutes in the future. The good thing happened. The job interview called back, the relationship was resolved, whatever it might be. It happened 10 minutes ago. How are you responding now? How are you feeling? Are you texting or calling somebody with the good news? Are you jumping for joy and cheering? Are you just sitting back in your chair in relief? Don't worry about the moment it happened. Go 10 minutes in the future and it's happened. And have you calmed down or you're still excited? Like, what would make sense for you? And just by forcing yourself to go through that process, again, it might be a subtle feeling of relief. It might be a really impactful feeling of relief, but whatever it might be, even if it feels very basic and very simple, believe it or not, that's how you know you're doing it right. The whole point of this is it's in the simple moments. It's in the quiet moments. It isn't always in the loud moments like, oh, wow, everything's great. I won the lottery. No, no. It's in the, oh, wow, everything's okay right now. I'm so glad that things are working out. That's the tone that you want to meet right now in this moment. That's getting you wherever you want to go.
That's a wonderful sentiment. So it's called 10 minutes
10 minutes ago method.
the 10 minutes ago method. All right. So make sure you're doing that, especially over the holidays when you're pressured and you feel like everything has to be perfect and you think the world is kind of spinning out of control. Let's practice this. All right. One more. Let's talk quickly about the time lapse method. And then I want you to talk really quickly about what goes on in December and your program.
Sure thing. Time lapse method is one of my favorite methods. And all you're going to do is you're basically going to list out 15 things that you're grateful for. Five are from your past, five are from your present, and five are things that you're looking forward to having occur in your future. And you're going to make this list and then you're going to just jumble up the list. So maybe the first thing is a present, and then a past, another present, then a future. And with this new jumbled up list, you're just going to take one at a time and read each one and take a minute to be grateful for that thing. And what's really cool and really encouraging about this process is two-thirds of that list is quote unquote real, meaning it already actually happened or it's already actually happening. So the gratitude you feel for those 10 things easily carries over into the five things in the future. So not only are you feeling amazing just in this moment, but you're more easily and more strategically inviting those five things that you want to actually happen. And again, it's a wonderful few minutes that you can give yourself. It's a lot of fun. It's easy, and it gives you the opportunity to really stretch your mind of what are things that you're grateful for across your life from past and present to future.
I also find that just simply saying the words, I am grateful, changes the mindset in so many ways.
Yes.
So, talk about gravity of the cosmos for us, will you?
Well, Gravity of the Cosmos is it's a 90-day program where basically if the last law of attraction book you'll ever need to read is what I call like the perfect law of attraction workout, or at least I hope it was, Gravity of the Cosmos is a personal trainer walking you through that, where if you want to do methods for 90 days, but you're not sure of like, that you can do it, that program basically sends you an email every day to a video every day that guides you through the process that goes for 90 days. But I also, for people that don't want to put 90 days into it. In December only, I have another program called Escape Velocity, which is 30 days, which is just basically gratitude method after gratitude method every single day. It's the same thing. You get an email to a video that walks you through what I call a daily mission, where we're just finding ways of feeling grateful every single day with the understanding and the comfort that that will build momentum for us and get us faster and easier out of that cycle of suck that we might be dealing with.
How do we access escape velocity?
If you just go to andrewcap.com, there's a link to it, which has a 10-minute video talking a little bit more about it, where people can decide if it's right for them.
Fantastic. What else do you want to leave us with here? Give us your last message for the new year, some ways to be optimistic, some personal gratitudes of your own.
Yeah, well, actually, there was a quote that I found yesterday that I wanted to. It occurred to me. Let me mention this now. And I don't know who had said the quote. I wish I could attribute credit, but I don't know who it is. But obviously, a lot of this is about healing. This is about improving your life. The quote is, "Healing doesn't mean the damage never existed. It means the damage no longer controls your life." And when you have that kind of perspective, that's where you get to be proactive and strategic. Okay, how do I get to a place where I can acknowledge that? I will intentionally take just 5 or 10 minutes a day to feel good about something or anything. It could be the smallest thing, it could be the most profound thing. It doesn't matter as long as I feel even a slight bit good, whether it's about my health, it's about money I've enjoyed in the past, present, or future. It's about relationships, friends who've been there for me. Ellen's show that is always striving and reaching to give them value and to give them reasons to feel good, or anything else, the device that they have in their possession that they can experience this on, or anything else in their life. And I'm telling you, I know it's easy to say this versus experience it till you get there, but if you're intentional this way every single day, you will get there.
Andrew Cap, ladies and gentlemen, the last law of attraction book you'll ever need to read. Just feel good. And also, so many ways to do this. Please, please, please give them a try. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful holiday season and happy 2025. Andrew Cap, I am grateful for you. Thanks for listening.